Thanks, Alistair. We'll try and get through this quickly, get us to lunch, mainly because I'm absolutely starving. That'll teach me for having granola and yoghurt for breakfast. I'm David from Sweco, Josh from Balfour's. I'll let Josh introduce himself in a minute. I'm a transport planner. I started in transport planning about 18 years ago with a real simple reason that I just wanted to try and make streets and places and cities better for people, make it easy to walk, cycle, wheel, use public transport. And that's still the case. That's still why I do what I do. And the scheme in Bradford that we're going to talk about is an example of that. And a few years ago, Bradford Council secured money through the Transforming Cities Fund. And Sweco and Balfour BC, working together with the council, have really worked on a plan to transform the city. And together, we've taken it through the outline business case, we've developed the designs, we've put in the full business case, and now we're heading towards construction. Josh, if you want to add anything on that?
Yeah, we'll do for now. So yeah, Josh Berry, nice to meet everyone. Business Development Manager for Balfour BT. So working closely with Bradford throughout this as well. So just a bit to add from me was this is actually one of 4 part of the TCF programme for Balfour BT as well. So it's about how can we take a lot of the strategic aims that Bradford have, not just for the city centre, excuse me, but how do we develop in a lot of what the place making and things like that and development that they want to take going forward. So I'll let Dave pick up from here now.
Thanks, Josh. So I sort of posed another question up here about how do we make sure that we design for future generations. Now, Bradford is one of the the youngest city in the UK by population. There's about 30% under 20, about a quarter of the population is under 16. So a key part of transforming the city for future generations is making it a place they want to stay. We want to keep those young people in Bradford, and then bring more people in. And we've underpinned our approach with this people-led approach, which I think aligns with what everyone else has been saying and I've heard over the last couple of days. But why does Bradford need transforming? If you've not been there, it's not great. It's not designed for people. The streets are designed for cars. You've got big roads that sever the city, making it really hard to move around. The pedestrians are pushed underground at key junctions. And this influences how people travel. We've got 70% of people commuting by car, even though a lot of them live local. So about 2/3 of people that live within 5 kilometres of the city still drive in. So it's very much a car-centric culture. This design has led to unattractive places. It really detracts. Bradford's got some beautiful buildings, loads of gorgeous heritage, but it's distracted by these unpleasant places, and it creating places people don't feel safe. We've then got lots of roads. There's then not a lot of space for people, and picking up Rose's point earlier, there's not much space, and then there's even less place, and that's something that this scheme is about. There's also a big focus on retail historically within the centre of Bradford. So there's lots of vacant units now, because the city is competing with more attractive places. People are going out of town, going to Leeds, Manchester. That sort of lack of space. But things are changing, like for the better. There's some great opportunities. In 2025, Bradford's going to host the City of Culture. So a year of events. We're going to have lots of visitors coming into Bradford and really start to make it a destination that people want to go to. The makeup of the city is also changing, so that shift away from the retail focus into a much more diverse mix, particularly with a focus on residential. And so one of the key things for us was making sure that we think about it as a livable city, a place that we want people to live and want to live, which means not designing in the car, like forgetting the car in some way in terms of the design and making it a livable city. And that's really where the scheme that we've worked on in the city centre is really about. So a lot of talk today about having a vision and a mission statement, and we from the outset started with a really clear vision of what we wanted this to be, and worked on this as part of the business case development. Not about cars, not about improving journey times, which a lot of historic schemes are about. It's about making the city a place where we want people to spend time. You might think, well, okay, it's all great having a nice fluffy vision, which is what I'm good at, is writing fluffy visions and then leaving poor engineers to worry about how you deliver it. But what it meant for a team between Sweco, Bradford and Balfour's was that we always had a really shared understanding of what we were trying to achieve. Transforming Bradford could not be achieved through tweaks to the system. We heard a lot about system talk today, so I'll apply it to this, but you can't tweak the system. You can't tweak Bradford to make it a place and a city of places. We needed a new system. We needed to completely change it and put people right at the core of what that was about. So, you've probably come across the shift away from predict and provide, and if you haven't, you want to know more about it, I can talk about that at length. But we really adopted this decide and provide approach. What do we want Bradford to look like? What does success look like? Start with that vision and then work out how a scheme delivers that. And Josh is going to say a bit about how we've worked together on that as a collaborative team.
So, cheers, Dave. Thank you. So, yeah, a lot of my stuff really I'm going to talk about, and Dave mentioned there, was we put people at the heart of it, and meaning that was the people of Bradford, really. So I'm going to talk a lot about the people who are involved as well. So, just a point I've heard a lot today about was people sometimes say, what is possible kind of thing, and looking forward, and people say, what can we do? And, well, we've got tools to do this. And I'm quite proud to say that Bradford, and particularly this scheme, is a really good way of taking what we can do and actually putting it in practice and doing it going forward. So we've been working on these schemes for a good few years now, and hopefully we'll be on site in the summer of these years and start to actually put this hard work and this early phases for setting up for success into real life actual work in the end of this as well. So a lot of this, like I say, one of the ones is I've mentioned earlier was this is one of 4 that we're doing as well. So we had to take in a lot of factors of how did we take in not just this one large city centre scheme, but how do we connect it to, for example, the interchange scheme that we've got going on as well. And there's other aspects that are going on around Bradford which Balfour BT aren't involved in, that how do we take that into play as well and really help them achieve what their strategy and their plans want to achieve as well going forward. So on this here, it's a nice little example of public consultation setting really, but I'll use the word collaboration and how we work together on that. And this picture really demonstrates of how we used us as Balfour BT, we used Sweco, and we used Bradford as the ultimate customer, but the people as the end user as well. So ultimately we sat there and we listened and we understood what the people want, and we tried to do that from the offset as well. So like the 2028 vision that was on there, it was taking that from being a vision and a piece of paper to understanding what the people want and trying to set that out to them. Ultimately, they're the end user of this at the end of the day. So if we're not aligning to what Bradford Council's strategy is, but then also the people and what they need and what they desire, then it's not going to develop and achieve what they want to achieve down the line as well. So I think that the early phases then I used of early phases for success is the key area where I think working in the relationship that we have with the customer, consultant and the contractor involved, it's very much not 3 people separately working towards what their best desire is. It's 3 people working together almost as an integrated unit and model to make sure that we're providing best value and best solution. So again, just touching on there, we've taken on sort of what the best things can be really, and what we've kind of come to the end of being, it will be a fully reimagined city centre in the end. So it will be a walkable city with sort of high quality transport connections, so a lot of people focus and driving for the next future generations. And I know Dave mentioned there sort of the ages that are associated with the city as well. So it's ultimately how do we get to that end point, which is key. And then I'm going to touch a little bit about the scheme as well. So if anyone's got any technical based questions, I'm not a technical person, so please don't ask them. The scheme ultimately is creating a lot of things for the city centre, and there will be a real complete change if you're ever there, or if you have seen it in the past, and if you want to be there around the end of 2024, then come up and you can see a big difference as well. So a lot of it's about creating a new public park, sort of centre of Bradford. You'll see from some of the different boxes on the screen as well there, so there's just short of 2.5 kilometres of cycle lanes, there's a lot of bus lane improvements, bus hubs. Some of the key bits, like I said, that I want to draw you to, and how we managed to bring in wider Bradford's policies was 80% increase in pedestrians in the area as well. So how do we increase to their local regen, local economic expenditure, things like that in the city. Increasing a lot of footfall as well. Trying to create a biodiversity net gain on the scheme as well, with a large park schemed aspect. I mentioned earlier about the interchange scheme that we're also working on, so a new gateway from Bradford Interchange to the city centre. So again, linking into how do we take wider strategic policies and make sure that they can actually be implemented into physical jobs at the end of the day. So that's enough from me really. I'm cautious of time as well, and I want to let Dave wrap up and finish on the bits he's got. So, but yeah, if there's any questions at the end, I'm happy to answer more in detail.
Josh is lying, he's actually a very technical person, so all technical questions to Josh, not me. So yeah, thanks Josh. So the scheme of those outputs, you know, like it's going to result in a city that looks very different to what it is now. And I mean, just using, we talk a lot about, Rosie talked about space and place. I mean, the new public realm and the improved public realm and public space is about the size of 4 football pitches, new green space about 2 football pitches. So it's really, you know, in a in a really urban centre, there's a lot of space being given over to people and taken away from cars. And so what will it look like? So some visualizations that are based on those the design plans that are up at detail. So it's going to be a safer, more accessible city because the traffic's been removed from the core. We're going to have it's going to be a more enjoyable place to walk and cycle in and help people live more active lifestyles. We've got more attractive streets. A really key part of this is about bringing in more shoppers and visitors to encourage new businesses, create new jobs. As I talked about, more public realm, nicer public realm, improved public realm that will activate the street, outdoor dining, pop-up markets, on-street events, so really changing the experience of someone coming in and spending time in Bradford. And as I point made before about that green space, so at the moment, if you want to access green space and you live on the edge of Bradford, you need to travel out away from Bradford. Now, the big part of the city is providing that green space, that place where people can come together, socialise, interact within the city. So I mentioned at the beginning, like, how do we make sure the city is designed as a place that people are going to want to live and young people are going to stay? And I'm not young anymore. There's not very many young people in the room, so I won't do a hands up. No offence to anybody, sorry. But I look at Bradford now and I think, if I was younger, would I want to live, work, socialise somewhere like that? And hope there's no one from Bradford in that's really passionate about Bradford and the car parks. But if the city was like that, would I want to live there? Probably not. If the city looked a bit more like this, would I? I think I probably would. It's a place that I feel like I would want to spend time. I don't know, if Josh, if there's anything around at the end, but I just want to end by saying, transforming a city, creating places, it's really, really hard. Let's not shy away from it. It's hard and it's not cheap. There's a commercial element to this, which is where it's been really important, the Bradford, Sweco, Balfour's piece about making sure that what we come up with is still commercially viable and can be delivered within the funding envelope. And that's run all the way through, as well as there being this vision. So it takes a lot to follow through with commitment. When you face challenges, you've got bus operators to deal with, you've got 70% of demand for car drivers that want to come into the city, so having to deal with them, funding, inflation going through the roof and meaning everything's more expensive. But I think my message would be, if you start with a clear vision, you work with the right people, like we're doing, you can really start to make change. And I think that's what I've heard a lot of over the last couple of days, and and that's great. And I suppose end of this year, Balfour will be out on site building this scheme, and so it'd be great to come back in a couple of years and be like, here's what it looks like, and compare it to this, and hopefully it'll be the same. So.
Yeah. Only thing for me really just to close on is that it is possible to do a lot of this stuff, and our people talk about doing some great things and things like that. I think the early involvement aspects and the shape of the team that we've got because of the early involvement, taking visions and strategies and things like that. We've not just took a great early concept, but then throughout the business case development, etc., that we've done, ultimately you're not just going to see sort of nice pictures and then end with something that's completely different. What you see on these images is what the job's going to look like, and that's all come from the get left phased of having us as Balfour BT, Sweco and Bradford all working together in this integrated approach from a very early onset. So that's about it from me really.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions? Technical or non-technical? See. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Sounds fantastic, and I get to deliver by City of Culture. Are you going to deliver all this in 2 years, or is there a meantime semi-solution? And what are the biggest challenges around that, particularly from a funding and a planning constraint? Do you want me to start?
Yeah, you can start. Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a challenge. I mean, not showing away. So we've come up with quite a novel approach to releasing the funding with the combined authorities. So we're hoping to get out on site as soon as possible in summer to start doing all the early work. So I mean, if you take, I don't know if it can go backwards, but there's a big car park on in there at the moment that needs to be taken down. So a big part of it is getting on with those early development works as soon as possible. But yeah, the City of Culture, we're aiming to be completed before then. I think the coordination is the big piece, but the programme at the moment has us finishing in January 2025. And yeah, we're at the moment, we're very confident it can be done. There's a lot to go at, a lot to do. But yeah, we're confident. Josh, you want to add anything?
Yeah, so only thing to add to me from there, Dave mentioned early 2025 finish, and that is for the sort of nice, shiny little aspects that will finish ready for the city of culture. But yeah, I think the early phase aspects, it's a big job at hand. And like I said earlier, I'm not the technical person, so there's a lot of people behind in the Balfour Beatty team and Sweco team at Bradford who are working extremely hard, who are very good at the technical things that they do. So yes, it's a big ask. Yes, they will achieve it. So ultimately, they've got to get it done, and I'm sure they will do so.
Great. Yeah, second question.
How does this all link to the ongoing issue about Bradford's external links, particularly to Leeds and the one-off discussion I hear about railways?
Do you want me to go first? Or
Go
I'll go first this time then,
go
yeah? It all links into part of it, yeah, of course. So obviously there's a large debate always about Bradford in general and the relation to Leeds and the size of what Leeds brings in itself. So I think that it's a large task for Bradford to balance it out in what their policies are and their strategies and things like that. But ultimately they have an end goal that Bradford want to achieve and trying to develop the city themselves. And I think this is just the first step on the ladder for them to do that. So I think this will help enable a lot of future things. So the programme that we're working on and then looking at other things down the line as well. But obviously there's a lot of wider things going on as well with some of the developments that they've got. So I think this, coupled with others, is a very good step in the right direction for Bradford to enable the things of extra train aspects or whatever else we may hear that's not gone Bradford's way at the moment. So I think it's the first step of many for them really. So, unless you want to add anything to that, Dave?
Fine, no.
Fantastic. Thank you both.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.